Hello there, welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to learn about how to create storage account. In the previous lectures, we learned about the type of the storage account and data access types and the storage account concepts within that. So it's time for us to create the storage account. So let's go to the storage account within this blade. Most of the time it will be available within your Azure blade. If not, you can search here as storage account and you would be getting. So make sure that you are selecting the storage account, not the classic one. Classic one will be getting retired mostly in the upcoming years, but for now we always learn of the storage accounts because these are based on ARM templates altogether. So I can simply go here and create one of the storage account like here and select the right resource group. In my case, I have already created a resource group. If not, you can create here one resource group and give a storage account name. This must be in a low cases all the time, and it should be anywhere from 3 to 24 characters long, and it should not contain any spaces, any capital letters, and it must be unique. When I say must be unique, if I try to create with my name, might be available, might not be available because somebody else have already taken. So if I say like IBM example, this might be already taken by IBM or somebody else. So I should be give a unique name. In this case, I'm going to give as AZ Learning 001 example. If it is available, it will take. If not, it's not gonna work out. And you see here, if I give as soon as the capitals, it's not taking, so I'll just give as the small. And you see here I have an option as learning 001 and I can create the location. So this is where within our Azure storage account gonna locate. That means all the information that we learned so far, like we talked about the containers, we talked about the files, we talked about the tables, queues, or whatever it is. It could be blobs or anything. That's gonna put it into this specific location called East US. So in our case, if you're okay, we can select that location. If not, we can choose other region altogether. So in our case, we can select East US. And again, performance tier, we have talked about the standard and the premium. So when we go for the premium, as we talked earlier, we don't get it everything like GRS, all that options. We are not going to get it because these are limited actually for the replication side. So if you choose as the standard, you get even the storage account version 2 also. At the same time, you can choose here zone redundant or geo redundant. You can go for these methods. So I'm going to choose here as the normal standard account, and I'm going to choose even my blob tier access also. So here kind of account would be the general purpose too, and along with that I'm going to dedicate it for LRS. I don't want to go for GRS, let's say, and then I can later point I can convert LRS to GRS or zone redundant. I can do all that conversion, and I should make sure that either the data is going to be saved as a hot or cold. So we talked about hot and cold, how frequently data is going to access, and that's what decides by hot or cool. And coming back to the networking, so this is very important that in the upcoming lectures also we're going to talk about it. So how this storage account is going to access. So if you choose as a public endpoint, it's gonna available for everybody. That means over all the network. It could be your VNets or external public IPs also. It can be accessed. Of course, you will have some kind of storage account keys and SAS access policies, or you would be allowing from Azure AD authenticated users only by creating some kind of Azure app registration. All that can be done, and we can talk on that accessing later point. But are you opening your storage account to the front end for the public? Yes, no, you can choose here. And if you don't want, what you can do is you can select the public endpoint as specific selected networks only, or you can choose here and create a private endpoint, which is nothing but creating your own VNet, and you can associate within that VNet. So VNet is nothing but your IP subnets. You can take it as, and if you have not gone through the VNet lectures, you can go and check out that lecture, but think that that's your subnets. So within that subnet only the storage account gonna work. So if you choose the private endpoints, and also you can go for the Microsoft routing or internet routing also you can choose. So in our case we are actually going to choose as a public, and I'm gonna choose the data protection. So why we want to secure our data within the storage account is really important for us. The reason being, let's say whatever the information you are putting, the company's critical data, you're going to store in your storage account. Storage account is a kind of bucket where you put all your things within that, like your files or your VHD files, or maybe your snapshots, or maybe your queues or your tables. All that information you are actually storing on your storage account. So this is a big bucket, and you have a separation within that bucket, like if a dedicated shades, like a file SMB shades, or maybe tables or queues. Such classified things are available. But how do you secure? So you can secure by turning these things. Let's say if you deleted a file, you want to recover that, so you can enable this soft delete. So after 7 days, till 7 days, you can actually recover that. And these options are you can actually enable under data protection. And turn on point in time restore for containers. So if you're using a containers, you can choose that point in time for the 6 days, and soft delete for the blobs. And also you can use the turn on the soft delete for file shades also, which is new here. Again, tracking for the versioning for your blobs, you can do that. You can enabling the blob change feeds, so that you can create, modify, delete, all that can be tracked when who was done and when it was done. All that changes also just for the tracking purpose. And coming back to the advanced, this is where you can say that, hey, do you want to enable only secure transfer? If so, it's going to use the HTTPS and over the HTTP also. And coming back to the blob public access, do you want to enable blob to be accessed over the internet, or you want to disable that? You can secure that. And the minimum TSL is 1.2, and that's the securing accessing method. And as your file share, you can enable disable for the large file shares. And the table queues, by default these are things are disable for encryption, but you can do that later point when we go for encryption with our storage account with a combination of key vault services. Later point we're going to do that. And tags are very important in terms of to understand what applications are going to store this storage account. Let's say app colon. Here I can say that app is maybe web app specific, I can say, or owner equivalent, so that I can easily find out the owner is maybe SQLDB. Okay, I can easily give these kind of tags to identify who's gonna use this, who's the owner, and when you want to take maybe a service to be done or something like that. Or even it's in fact it's very easy to understand in the billing point of view these tags when you filter. So let's go ahead and review that and create this account. So let's click on create. This will create the storage account in a minute or so. So now we have a big storage account. You can put all the data within that storage account. Now we have the storage account created. Let's go to the resource of that specific storage account, and you see here you can check out the location and the subscription, and whether it is a standard or hot or cold, and the type of the replication which we have defined as a LRS. Later point if you want to change, you can do that. And to access the storage account, you have an option for access keys. These are the two keys which are available. So one would be, we call it as a key one, which is a primary, and the key 2. So by using these storage account keys, this is like a password, okay, for your storage account. You can access this along with this key, and you can create, if you have this key, anything, and you can do all the things that you can do it within this storage account limitation. When I say storage account limitation, like you can create your containers, you can add your blobs, you can go for your tables, queues, and files, all that can be done with the help of these storage accounts. So this is like your password for entering into your storage account. Of course, I did logged in with my account, so I no need to again use these keys. But if I wanted to do anything programmatically, or I wanted to access from a computer so with some kind of tools, then I might have to use any of these keys. Okay, so how do you access actually from your computer? So there is a tool called Storage Explorer. So this is a tool, currently it is also embedded within the Azure browser, so that you can actually browse like this and find out if anything is available within the storage account. Or you can go ahead and download the storage account specific Explorer. That's nothing but a Storage Explorer. You can download this tool and get it installed on your computer from here, and then connect to that storage account by using these keys. So these keys, we talked about the storage account keys. So with that keys, I can actually work and connect, and I can do anything with that storage account by using these keys, which we are going to talk in the upcoming lecture. And also, if you look at if you want to know what if you don't want to give these entire key, because as we talked earlier, this key 1 and key 2, the primary and the secondary keys are have the full control. I don't want to give the full control for my programmers. I just wanted to give a specific thing. Let's say I just wanted to grant permissions on maybe only files. So what I can do in that situation, I can simply take out and select only files from the allowed services directly from the shared access signature. Sometimes we also call it as SAS. Sometimes we refer as the SAS. So SAS is a URI that grants restriction access based on the access that you're gonna give. Let's say we talked earlier files. On top of files, you want to give the access here, file shades. But this file shades, you wanted to generate a specific token, a kind of a password for writing or reading or deleting or listing or creating. You can grant a different allowed permissions. So in my case, I just wanted for read example. I cannot even create, and from what time to what time, and what is the time zone you wanted to allow the end user. I can select even future date. Let's say from maybe this specific engineer, maybe which I'm going to create a generation key. Once I've done this, so I will have the key. So with that key, my engineer going to work maybe on upcoming Saturday. He's going to work till maybe Saturday from maybe 11 a.m. to, let's say, he's going to work up to maybe 1 p.m., something like that. So what would happen is within that time only this specific key will work. Even though you shade now, it's not going to work because the time is not yet active. So that's how it's going to work. So let's generate that specific key and how it looks like. So now once I've done this, I can even select here the allowed IPs only. If I know that my end user who's going to perform this change or who's going to access along with this SAS key, I can give here their public IP address also. So far we understood that we can use any of these keys, and we can rotate these keys in case of any admin changed, because he might know these keys, and this is a key of your entire storage. So you can perform any kind of changes with the help of these keys. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use a tool called Storage Explorer. This is actually also in a preview to view the same thing, which is also can be done from the web. So if you want to download and use as application, you can always go here and try to download or search for Azure Storage Explorer. You'll be getting that tool. Once you install it, the installation is straightforward, and once it is installed, you will be getting very similar to this. And this is where the power button, there's a connect button, so you can choose any of these. So if at all you haven't yet signed in, you can choose here and try to sign up. So this would take you your account with the Azure, or you can actually choose another method, like if you see here Azure AD based, or you can use something like connection string. And you also have SAS, which we just now talked about, the SAS. So by using those keys, you can connect it and use the storage account name and key and also local emulator, which is kind of a simulator for you. You can use that. So now I'm gonna use any of these method, right? So I'm gonna use the SAS method, or maybe storage account and key. Let's say if I want to connect to the storage account, so I'll simply click on next along with the key. The key is nothing but the primary key. The two keys what we have told earlier, like access keys, so we can use that to connect. So I'll just say next, and I'll say display name and the account name, and this is the account name, and this is account key. So I'll just go here and look for my storage account name. So if you see here, you can actually find out your storage account name, which is available, which was we have given as the unique, if you remember, when we try to create the storage account. So that would be your actual account name. In this case, this is the storage account name. So I'll just copy this. I'll open up my storage explorer, and I'll say this is my account name, and I'm gonna say that this is my the same name I'm gonna give here, and here I'll simply go ahead and connect it by using any of these keys. So I'll simply copy this key, and I'll simply paste this key and click on next. That's going to actually make a connection by using this key. So this key has a full permission. Let's say connect. So it's going to explore everything here. If you see here, that has everything, and this is where we have the storage account, and you can see here our storage account, which has all the access. Now within the storage account, I can actually create here a file share if I want, or I can work with my queues and tables and my blob containers. Even I can create a blob container, and let's say VHDs. This is maybe so if I just give as this is for VHD, I can give as a VHD. So if the files are nothing, it doesn't show anything. So let me upload some of the files. Let's say folder itself I can upload if I really need it. So I'll simply browse and say that here you go ahead and open up some of the files to be uploaded. Let's say I want Windows PowerShell to be uploaded, so it's going to upload all the content within that folder. And this is the best tool. Why? The reason being, you can actually work very similar to a copy paste kind of thing. You can do it here with the upload. Otherwise, if you want to do anything, you have to depend on a PowerShell commands like az copy, all that command. So it would be difficult in case if you're not working with the PowerShell commands. So this tools makes easy for us to, in terms of any changes that we need to simply have to do. So if you see here, this got uploaded, but that actually does not have anything. So if you see here, this is a command, it was try to upload. So if I just go to notepad and type the command which was used, az command, so it actually running all this command, and then it is actually downloading. So there was no files. So let me upload some of the files simply within this VHD. So I'll just go ahead and choose some file. Let's say this is a file I wanted to upload. So now the file gets uploaded with a command. So in case if you want to change anything, you can always do some kind of a change. And now you can see here. So what happens is, if you are trying to upload any of the empty folders, remember, it doesn't show here in a visualize. So that empty folder should have some objects, some files should be there. Otherwise it doesn't show. That's again a tricky part if you're working with a storage account. Let's review what we have learned so far. So if you want to create a storage account, we know now how to create a storage account, and this is going to be your storage account name. And anything you want to grant an access, you need to have keys. So there are two different keys. One is a primary, other one is a secondary key. So these keys can be rotated like this. So if I just do this, so the key gets changed, and you see now this is a key got changed. Similarly, if you have another engineer who left, maybe who knows this key, we can actually simply rotate the key, but without disturbing the existing applications, you can give for some time the key to, and then rotate it and change the key. And coming back to the configuration of any of the storage account to be changed, you can go to the configuration and change it if there isn't a possibility to change, like cool to hot, or maybe from LRS, that's a locally redundant storage, to geo redundant, or read access geo redundant. And then these kind of basic configuration of your storage account can be done from here. And if you're using identity based access, then you can enable this configuration so that it's going to use the Azure Active Directory Domain Services, that is the ADDS specific configuration. And also any of the containers. So if you want to create any kind of containers within the blobs, you can do that. It's nothing but a folder kind of thing within this. And for the encryption of the data, because this entire storage will have the data that will be managed by Microsoft, right? So you need to encrypt that. So by default it also does the encryption from the Microsoft managed keys by using, if at all you want to do it by customer managed, in fact we have a dedicated demo. So what we will be doing is we will be creating a key vault services. So if you have not gone through the key vault services, you can go and check out that lecture on Azure Key Vault Services. Key Vault Services is basically securing your all passwords, all your keys in one vault services, and you can recall from there. Instead of you remember, or instead of you write it on your code, you go and your application go and communicate with Key Vault, and then it will be used. So similarly here, the keys will be used for the BitLocker BDM managed keys will be generated, and that keys will store in this Key Vault services. So we have a dedicated demo on this. In fact, you may check out, there could be 2 demos also, one with the CLI based, other one would be the PowerShell with a combination of how to create from the Azure portal also. And coming back to the shared services, so we know that if you want to give explicitly permissions now on a specific storage services, either blob or file or queue or table, we can select it and we give the exclusive permissions. So either you want read, write, or delete by the user. So it actually generates a key. So with that key we can actually give the permissions, and that permissions can be work based on the timing, also maybe a future date or current date, and we can set it the expiry also. And also to secure, we can also give the some allowed IP addresses also, we can do that. And coming back to the firewall, this is very important. Again, you wanted to manage your storage account with the firewall, because if you want to secure your storage account, definitely it would be either you want to expose to the entire networks, which includes even internet and intranet, or you want to include this storage account for a specific VNet or virtual network. So you can define that here from by selecting a selected network. If you choose all networks, it's going to be including internet. Everybody can access. Of course, they need to have the either access keys or SAS keys. That's nothing but a shared access signature. So one of them is needed to access your storage account. That's the access side. And also coming back to the private endpoint connections, you can also configure your endpoints so that you know that it's going to actually connect with your endpoints within the same region of your virtual network, or different private links can be configured. And we have a dedicated link on a private endpoints, so I'm not gonna talk on here and more on this. And if you want to do manually transfer data, yes, you do have to use the AZ copy command. You see here AZ copy command with the PowerShell, so you can use, or otherwise you can use the Storage Explorer. And for accessing, again, you can use the AM, which is Access Management Control, where you can go and do your role-based access management. You can do it here. And coming back to the custom domain, see, we have been talking about so much on the storage account, but we don't want our blob or our queues with the default Microsoft naming format. We wanted that should be actually routed with our own custom domain name. So in that situation, you can actually create a CNAME record and point that specific record to your website. So So when users try to browse with your domain name, for example, contestware.com, it will be directly pointed, since we have a CNAME record which was created within the DNS provider. So if you are using maybe Namecheap or GoDaddy or Microsoft Azure DNS services, you may have to create all these CNAME records so that it would point it, and that's how the custom domain can be used. You can use the lifecycle management in terms of creating a different rules with the if condition. If let's say if this is a block and you want to delete it, so automatically with the lifecycle you can use the if condition, or then do you want to delete it or do you want to move it? All that can be configured in terms of the lifecycle management of your storage, because you don't want to keep everything stored forever, right? You wanted to maintain the objects lifecycle. In that case, you are going to use the lifecycle management within the blob services. And we're going to actually use the CDN also if you are working with any kind of a content delivery and where you're storing your information, then you can actually use the content delivery options. And soft delete and the file share services, tables, queues, these are separate services which are coming from Microsoft storage account, Azure storage account. You can use it and you can configure the diagnostic settings in order to know what's happening. And if you are not using some kind of automation, you can go ahead and create your automation here. So this is all possible, and this is how storage account would be used. So I gave you a clear idea on a high level view. So in the upcoming lectures we are going to deep dive on few of the specific topics, and then we are going to learn more in depth of the storage account. But for this point of time, I hope this is useful for you. Thank you for watching this, and I'll catch you in the next lecture.